Now, prayer is often thought of as a very serious spiritual practice. We don't often think of it the lighthearted side of prayer. But there are some lighthearted sides of prayer that can really take us deeper and really get us to that same place that the seriousness ones do. So if you were raised in some kind of a traditional religion, you may have had a prayer that went something like this. Oh, please God. We were begging, we were beseeching that indwelling presence to bring about some change in some situation that we didn't want to be experiencing. And so it was a begging kind of a situation. Or it may have been one like this. God, if you do this, I'll do that. Where we were bargaining with God, where we were trying to give up something in exchange for what we wanted to have. So, it could have been that I will do something if you'll do this for me, God, or I won't do something if you do this for me, God, or I'll become something else if you do this for me, God. I know I have a lot of friends that were in the Catholic tradition that said something along the lines, I'm going to become a priest or a nun if you will do this, and then regretted having said that. So, it's just a different way of looking at spirituality than is contrary to what we believe here. If we have this sense of duality, there's a spirit is something outside of us, then that's where we're going to go to these begging and beseeching and bargaining kind of prayers. We're looking at a dualistic relationship with God instead of the unified one that we practice here at Centers for Spiritual Living, where we believe that spirit is that indwelling presence and we are completely unified with it at all times. And like I said, these prayers are quite a bit different than our traditional prayer that we use here at Centers for Spiritual Living. They can be effective at times because people have reached a point where they are surrendering. And so they will actually experience some kind of change in their life, sometimes through those prayers, because they've reached a point where they can't do anything else, and they just turn it over to Spirit, and its Spirit will work through them. But we've spent thousands of years praying for peace and doing it through that, please God, make there be peace here. Or please God, if you will bring peace or an end to this war, we will do this or that. And, here we are again experiencing more war in our world. So these prayers don't always work. Like I said, they can, but they don't always. Sometimes prayers of surrender are really powerful, though. There are times when I actually can turn to that prayer of surrender. I studied Joel Goldsmith on and off, and one of the prayers that he uses, I love it, it's from one of his books, and it goes basically something like this. Search my mind, search my body, search my soul. And if you find anything in there that doesn't belong, or anything that's not there for my highest and greatest good, I'm just turning it over to you. You can take care of it. For me, this is a prayer that when I can't figure out what the problem is, I can't figure out, if I have a pain in my body and I'm not sure where it is, and I can't figure out what's causing it or anything else, and I've reached a point where I can't do anything else, then I remember that I can surrender and turn it over to Spirit and allow Spirit to work through me. And it can be very, very powerful. I found great benefit from this prayer. Another one of Joel's prayers that I use frequently is the prayer of forgiveness. There's sometimes in our lives we experience a situation where we're not ready to forgive yet. We know intellectually that forgiveness is necessary here and that things will heal and things will move on quickly if we can get to that place of forgiveness, but we're not there yet. And so I love this one. It's, Joel says, he just goes into prayer and says, Spirit, I know forgiveness is needed right here in this situation, but I am not at a point where I can forgive. But I know you can. And so I'm going to allow you to be doing the forgiveness work here. I'm having you do the forgiveness work for me until I can do it for myself. And that brings about a lot of relief too. It's a great way of, again, surrendering when I can't figure it out, but I surrender it over. But it has a different feel than that begging and beseeching prayer did. It's a prayer that's saying, I know that there's something out there working. I know that there is this power for good in the universe, and it is working, and I'm going to allow it to work until I can work. because right now I can't do it. I can't do the work that I know is necessary for this situation, but I know Spirit can. And so it's a prayer of trust, a prayer of deep, deep faith, and it is a prayer of surrender. And it's a way to move through things that in your lives without having to try to figure it out or get to a point where you're ready for it and you're not at that moment. So our form of prayer that we use here, like I said, is called spiritual mind treatment. And spiritual mind treatment is a serious form of prayer. It is so serious that, like I said, we spend quite a bit of time training our practitioners and testing them and making sure that they can do this spiritual mind treatment in the way that it's designed to be done, because it has been proven to be completely effective. It has been proven to change conditions in our lives. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, writes in his Science of Mind Dictionary, he says, "Prayer is the contact of our mind with the universal mind in a way that results in bringing about a desired good." Prayer is for changing conditions. Prayer is for connecting with the universal presence, remembering truth, and bringing about a change in a condition that is being experienced, whatever that condition may be. So in our spiritual mind treatment, we have 5 stages. The first stage is called recognition. And in recognition, we do that. We recognize the presence of the divine. We recognize that indwelling love intelligence, that creator of all, that omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient being that is always present, all-knowing, and all-powerful. It is always working through us. It is an indwelling presence, meaning it works through each one of us individually. It is universal. It is unconditional. It doesn't judge. It is that presence of all of those universal qualities of peace and love and harmony and joy and wisdom. All of that is what we believe this indwelling presence is. So our first stage is all about reminding ourselves of that, remembering the truth of what Spirit is. Our second stage is unification. And in unification, we unify, we bring ourselves into alignment with that indwelling presence. If there is only this one creator, which is what we believe, and we believe that this one creator is in all of its creation, which is what we are, then it must be inside of us. And so our unification is about reminding ourselves of that. I'll say things like, since I know that God is all there is, I know that it is in me, that it is moving through me and showing up as me in all that I am and all that I do. And I remind myself that because I know Spirit is this love intelligence, I am too. I know that Spirit is a place of peace and joy and grace, and I know that that's right there within the heart of my being, and it is coming through me. So I spend time reminding myself of my connection with Spirit. So the first 2 stages are all about bringing ourselves into alignment with Spirit. This is what Ernest calls the fire. We really bring in those ideas of what it is and our connection with it, and that builds that sense of connection and power and everything that is moving through us right then. Our next stage is about recognizing truth, and it's recognizing truth based on our principles. So if we know that God is all there is, and I am one with it, and that it is only good, then only good is ever happening. And so we state statements of truth that usually pertain to the situation we're treating for, the situation that we are holding in prayer at that time, for ourselves, for someone else. We state statements of that we know that this is unfolding right here and right now. The statements that we use in the realization stage are affirmations. And affirmations are positive, powerful, they're present tense, and they're personal. And so they are about something that is happening right now, not going to happen, but happening right now. They are filled with words that are powerful for us, words that evoke a feeling within us. Again, igniting that fire, getting that passion going in there. And then they're about us. They're about the situation. If we're treating for someone else, it's about that person. But they're personal. They are right there, applicable to us, to each one of us individually. And so as we are stating these truths, reminding ourselves of that with power, with passion, with a deep-seated sense of knowing that this is what's happening, then that's what we're doing in that realization stage. Our fourth stage of is Thanksgiving. And that's where we're just simply grateful for the truth that we know. We're not grateful for a whole laundry list of things that are happening, but we're grateful to know that the action and the activity of the divine is happening right here and right now. We are grateful to know that we are divinely connected with that presence. We are grateful for these more broad, universal truths than that whole laundry list of things that might have been treating for. We're grateful to know truth. That is one of the most powerful statements that we have. We're so grateful to know this and to have this and to see it happening right here and right now. And our last stage of the treatment is our release. That's where we let it go. And it is really one of the cementing ones. Sometimes people think it's not as important, but it's the one that actually is that total and complete recognition that if all of this stuff is true, and we know it is, then we know it is happening right now, and we don't have to do anything else except know that. And so we let it go. We just release it into that law that does what it does and acts upon it just the way that it needs to act upon it. And so those are our 5 stages of treatment. Now, again, like I said, that can be serious, but it can also be a little bit fun. So one of my favorite ways of remembering about spiritual truth, and it's actually a great prayer when I don't know what to pray for, but I know that I need to pray at that moment. Back in, I think it was in 2004, maybe 2005, a young woman named Margaret Owens was taking a class at our center in Las Vegas. And she was taking the foundations class, which is our beginning class. And her final project for the class was to write a song. And the song is called The Treatment. And it's a really powerful song. It's on one of her CDs now. I've heard it many different centers around the country being sung, so I just love it. But the chorus of it is our 5 stages of treatment. And so the chorus goes, God is, I am, I know, I am grateful, I release, and let it go. This is how we teach our children to pray too. When we're doing prayer work in our classrooms, on Sunday mornings with our young folks, we are teaching them this beginning prayer of just 5 simple lines. God is, I am, I know, I am grateful, I release, and let it go. Very simple, very powerful, and it can be fun. I love to sing it. It's a song that I'll put on in my car frequently when I'm just driving around because it's got a nice rhythmic beat to it as she's singing it. So it's a great song. One of our other New Thought artists, Karen Drucker, has a couple of songs that also talk about the stages of treatment. There is an acronym that goes along with treatment, and it's RURTR. R for realization, R for recognition, R for unification, R for realization, T for Thanksgiving, and R for release. And Karen has a couple of songs that use the phrase, are you ready to receive? Are you ready to receive? The acronym for our treatment. She has it in her song, Are You Ready to Receive? And then also in her song, The Gifts of the Goddess. And so it's a nice way of remembering that. And again, a little fun, a little lighter, a little way of reminding ourselves of the stages of treatment and just to remind ourselves of truth. You know, if I'm stuck in a situation and I think, what in the world is happening here? Why isn't this happening? I can ask myself, am I ready to receive? I mean, have I got myself a place in consciousness where I can actually receive the good that's coming my way? Because sometimes I've got a block in there that I need to work on releasing. And so again, like I said, these are fun ways of singing our prayers. So a few years ago, I was working on a project for ministerial school, and I came across a book called Praying in Color by Sybil Macbeth. And this book has a whole technique for prayer that I have found to be quite useful in my life. I like to do coloring. I like coloring and drawing and crafts and things like that. So this one was right up my alley. Well, in her book, Sybil Macbeth has you do doodles. They're just little irregular drawings, just the kind of drawings that you might find in a coloring book. I do different doodles throughout my time too. I draw mandalas, which is a form of doodling. But in her book, she shows you different ways of using her doodling technique and coloring technique to draw out your prayers, to pray for a while over something. Especially, this is really good, especially when you don't know exactly what to do, or you just want to be in that state of bliss that comes along with praying. So it comes from a Christian tradition. So much of her stuff on her website and in her book have a more Christian slant, where it doesn't quite align with what we're talking about, but the technique is totally perfect for it. So I've chosen a couple of examples of her prayers from her website. The first one is her prayer of gratitude. And her prayer of gratitude is, like I said, it's just a doodle, and she just sat there thinking about all the things that she was grateful for. And as she was thinking about them, she was coloring, drawing, bringing things forth in this creative way. And what a beautiful time. Probably spent half hour, 45 minutes easily, just sitting there thinking about all the things that she's grateful for. Again, if the only prayer we ever said was one of thanksgiving, then that would be enough, according to Meister Eckhart. So the prayer of gratitude, powerful way of praying. Another one that she has here today on her website is a prayer for her tasks that she has to do throughout the day, just to make sure that everything is unfolding easily and effortlessly. She does her list of her tasks on the doodle that she's working on, and just thinks about the highest and greatest good for those unfolding as she's moving about her day. And so, again, that's just a great way of doing it. I took one of her prayer templates that she has on there and did a prayer for my family. And so I just wrote down the names of each person in my family and just contemplated the highest and greatest for them unfolding right here and right now. If some situation was happening in their world right now, I would hold that in the highest too. But for the most part, it was just, health and well-being and happiness flowing for each one of the people in my family. And so it was fun to sit and do that. You can download these from her website and color with them. One of the things that I also do, as I said, I draw a mandala generally every morning, or I do a doodle, one of the two, through this process I have called creative mindfulness. This is part of our quantum physics, where we believe that there is no specific location for anything that happens in consciousness. It happens everywhere. It's universal. And so we know that it's available. People can tap into that universal consciousness at any time. And through prayer, it's a way of doing that. And so these were just a couple of examples of the lighter side of prayer. Like I said, it doesn't always have to be serious, but it's all about connecting ourselves in consciousness. Just like with meditation, there are lots of different ways we can do it. And if we take the time to go a little deeper and find something that really works for us, then I think it's much more effective than trying to make something that doesn't work fit who we are. So look around, find different ways of praying. I love Thich Nhat Hanh, who says that let your walk be a prayer upon the earth. Let our feet kiss the earth as we walk. And so, putting ourselves out there in consciousness and tapping into that universal presence, that's what prayer is about. And it can be fun.